say prejudice is a prejudgment, typically a negative prejudgment against somebody.
You said bad earlier. What do you mean by bad?
I'm sorry, what word bad?
Yeah.
Bad? I'm not sure how I used it. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, bad is the opposite of good. I'm not quite clear on what you mean.
Do you think non-white people can be racist?
Oh, okay. I think that non-white people...
Yes or no?
I think no in terms of the system of white supremacy. And the reason I say it that way is because I think that racism, to me, is two things, okay? And I say this because any word that ends with ISM, any ism, is two things. It's an ideology and it's a system, just like capitalism or socialism or communism. So at the level of the system, I do not believe that non-white people can be racist because they do not have the institutional power to implement racism. At the ideological level, anyone could be racist in the sense that they could believe in racism, they could believe that their own group was superior or that another group was inferior. So that's a form of racism, but it's not a very potent form. And so when I'm asked that question, I always say no at the level of the system, yes at the level of ideology, but, the ideology piece is not that important if you don't have power. So basically, the way that I think you're asking the question, the answer would be no, that they can't be in any real functional way.
Okay, thank you. That'll be all.
Thank you. You bet.
Context of white supremacy, Gus T. Renegade Justice, and the admitted white supremacist known as Tim Wise. I think this has been a constructive program. I could be wrong. We'll have to see how non-white people respond. I have a request. I'm about business. Mr. Wise, I feel you are one of the most well-known, well-liked, respected white people, really individuals, period, who talks about racism, white supremacy. This program, since you last were here, oh my gosh, everybody that's on the line, if you called in, I had to put you on because the switchboard crashed immediately at the 2-hour mark. So you're on the line, but I need you to be quiet if you're on the line. Mute your phone if you're on the line. I was trying to be courteous to get people who called in so you could ask questions if you have them, but I need you to be quiet. I'll call out your line if you want to ask questions, but keep the noise down. Thank you. As I was saying, you are, Mr. Wise, one of the most well-known, respected white people who talks about racism, white supremacy. Since you were last on this program, the Cows has been gaining support, I'll say. More people are listening to the program. It has been consistently ranked as the #1 educational program at Blog Talk Radio. I am all about exchanging views, not playing games, as you said earlier, exchanging views, constructive information on racism, white supremacy. I feel it would be incredibly constructive to have you on the program consistently to discuss our views on racism, white supremacy. The request that I would like to make, I would like you to come on the Cows once a month from now until July. I don't know if you've been listening. I've guaranteed this program will end on August 5th, 2010, unless I get a MacBook Pro with a carrying case. So it's very possible this program will be gone by August 5 of this year. I would like to do as much as I can to work constructively against racism, white supremacy. I think having you on the program once a month until that time would be immensely constructive for my listeners to know at least once a month Tim Wise will be on the show to share his views. We can see where we disagree. I have things I didn't get to. I'm certain there will be incidents of racism that will be popping up in the news that we can discuss. We can talk about the Haiti situation. This would be you investing some of your privilege as a white person, an admitted racist white supremacist, in my program. I can guarantee you, being on this program once a month, this program will become even more popular. People will be flocking just to hear Gus T. Renegade and Tim Wise exchange views once a month. Not asking for any money, not asking luggage, sack of gold, a house, investment tips, just a little bit of your time once a month from now until July, one program per month to exchange views. Is that something you would be willing to do, Mr. Wise?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay, so we have that. That's a guarantee. I can get one program per month until July. You'll come, we'll discuss racism, white supremacy, one show a month?
I think we can make that happen with no problem. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to go ahead and set up the next date for February before I get to my last question, because Dr. Frances Cress Welsing will be on this program. She's scheduled to be here February 7th.
Okay.
Boy, February 7th is Super Bowl Sunday. Dr. Welsing's show is scheduled for the time of the kickoff to the show. I just want to flex my commitment to racism, white supremacy. I will not be watching the game. I'll be talking to Dr. Welsing. I guarantee you, if you come on that show, a whole lot of people will disregard the game to come hear Dr. Welsing and Tim Wise on the same show to discuss racism, white supremacy, and maybe you all can share where you disagree about her theory. Do you think you have time in your schedule to come do the show on February 7th?
I'm traveling that day, actually, and I would love to be on the show sometime with Dr. Welsing. That I would be honored to do it. I'd be glad to do it. That particular day, I'm traveling almost the entire day, literally from the fairly early morning until the evening. So the 7th is not going to work for me. But if we can make another day that February is I've got a lot of traveling that I'm doing, but I've got a lot of open dates as well.
Okay.
The 7th won't work, but we will make it happen for sure at some point in that month.
Okay. I'm looking at my calendar. I like to be business since I've got you here right now. What about February 21st? I believe that is a Sunday.
That is a Sunday.
Third Sunday.
Yeah, actually the 21st would work well.
Okay. What time would be best for you on February 21st?
I'm pretty flexible on that. Whatever, I'm 2 hours ahead of you, so that just has to be considered, obviously. But, sometime around this same time is fine with me if that works well for you, evening. But I could probably do, mid-afternoon also, whatever works for you.
Okay. February 21st, we'll do same time. February 21st, 6:30 p.m. Tim Wise back on. Okay, that's great. And we'll do once a month until July. I think that'll be great. We can exchange views, and hopefully we can get Dr. Welsing on one of those shows, and I think that would be fantastic. My last question, and symbolism for everybody that's listening, February 21st, not only is February 21st the anniversary, 1-year anniversary of the cows, February 21st is the 45th, there we go, get my math correct, 45th anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X, February 21st. Tim Wise, 4th trip to the cows, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Mr. Wise, what is your view of the film Monsters Ball with Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton?
I remember seeing it. It's been a while. I do remember being disturbed by it. And I remember thinking two things. One was that I thought that the scene, in particular the sexual scene between Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton, was really highly exploitative, I thought, of Halle Berry's character. And I thought it was unnecessary, and I thought it was exploitative, and I thought it was lurid in a way that Hollywood often treats subjects of sex generally, but especially in regard to this white man and this black woman. And I also thought, secondly, when she won the award for, I guess, Best Actress that year, right? She, although I think she's a brilliant actress and a fantastic performer, it disturbed me that, it seems as though when non-white peoples or people of color win awards for programs, it's often for playing these somewhat debased, pathetic characters. And I'm afraid, for example, the movie Precious, and I know that Monique has received this nomination for her performance in Precious, which on the one hand, it's a brilliant performance, but it's also this very negative, somewhat debased character that she's playing. And so it bothers me when brilliant black artists, in this case, or get awards and get recognition only when they play like the most objectionable character. So it's Denzel Washington winning for playing this brutal, horrible cop in the film, I don't remember the name, a couple years ago. So that was my thought about Monsters Ball, was one, I thought that particular scene was horribly exploitative and offensive on a number of levels. And I thought that the fact that it took that for her to get recognition was really unfortunate, but is very common, frankly, in Hollywood.
You said, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly, you said debased and pathetic. Is that correct about Halle Berry's role?
I thought that the way that role was written, yes, I thought it was a character that was very, I thought she was a pathetic character in the sense that she seemed, the way it was written, and like I said, it's been, 9 years since the film came out, or 8 years. I just remember thinking that it was sort of pathetic that she needed this white man so badly, that the story seemed to revolve, as I remember it, around, and as I felt at the time, it seemed like she was so dependent on him, and needed him, and to me that was a debased position for her to be in that story, and I just thought it was disturbing that that's how the story was written. And that was the way they chose to portray her. Same thing with Precious and Monique's character. I don't think you have to portray the young woman's mother as this sort of uncaring, unfeeling, quote-unquote welfare queen, as the stereotype that's so common, in order to tell the story that the filmmakers are trying to tell in Precious. But it seems as though Hollywood does that. They go overboard in presenting characters in this sort of pathetic and debased way when they are characters of color, and I just think that's disturbing.
Want to highlight? I said confusion. I said really. To me, it's a white person telling me that non-white people are not confused about racism, white supremacy. It is offensive. It is offensive to hear that from a white person, and in my view, the fact your view on Monsters Ball and the fact that I think we are knowledgeable that Halle Berry cried on stage at the honor of receiving an Academy Award for her portrayal in a role that you said was written in a debased and pathetic manner, and that Hollywood had white people, suspected racists who make films, have a tendency of showing non-white people in pathetic roles in relation to white people and needing white people, dependent, subservient to white people, and in this case, not only being dependent upon and subservient to white people, but being sexually exploited by an overt racist whose father was also overtly racist and whose father bragged about sexually exploiting non-white people. I believe his line was exactly, he had a thing himself for dark oak. I'm pointing this out not only to highlight the confusion of having non-white people who are proud of this film and view this as an accomplishment that she was recognized and awarded for her performance in Monsters Ball, but also to highlight my view on why sexual intercourse is extraordinarily incorrect under the system of white supremacy. The symbolism of having powerful white people reward Halle Berry for her performance in that role is extraordinary for me and cannot be ignored. It speaks volume to the pleasure, that's all I can conclude, the pleasure that white people derive from sexually humiliating non-white people. That's all I can conclude. Do you think that's accurate? I mean, you're very informed. Did what I just said, did that make sense to you?
Well, I don't know if the people who made the film deliberately derived pleasure from that or not. Honestly, I can't say. I can say that I think it must mean something that these are the kinds of roles that black people are rewarded for, even though they've done far better work in other roles. And these are brilliant artists. And the fact that it takes a role like that, or Denzel Washington, again, playing a brutal and vicious cop, in the film that he won for, it's a different kind of debasement. Nonetheless, it is debasement. Says to me that the Hollywood film system, and particularly the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, whatever it's called, that does the Academy Awards and actually determines the winners of these things, that they clearly are more comfortable. I can certainly say